Today on Locked On Red Wings, Detroit starts and finishes strong, but it's not enough as they fall to the Capitals 4-3.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. I'm a podcast producer for the Daily J, a WWJ News Radio podcast. Well, Scotty's a host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News. And on today's episode, guys, Red Wings played their second preseason game. It's in the books. They fell 4-3 to the Capitals, and we'll give you our biggest takeaways from that because there's a few. Red Wings played their B team. Capitals played what you could suggest as their A team. I mean, anytime Ovechkin and Kuznetsov and Tom Wilson and all those guys are out there, Backstrom, that's going to be their A team. But yeah, we'll talk about it, see what we could take away from that game. But first, Scotty, happy Friday.
Thanks, man. Happy Friday to you too.
Thanks. I mean, it was obviously we're recording this just before midnight on Thursday following the Lions game. And it's been, hell of a day for me, but especially for you, with the Tigers winning back-to-back games, Torkelson hitting 30 home runs, Red Wings hockey, win or lose. Red Wings preseason hockey is a good thing. And then, 3-1, baby.
The Detroit Lions, baby. The Detroit football Lions, Kings of the North, baby.
Kings of the North. And if we have time for it, maybe we'll chit-chat at the end about it. But we got to talk about this Red Wings hockey game.
People love when we do that.
People love when we talk about sports that aren't hockey right at the beginning of the show. So leading off with the Detroit Red Wings, they came out of the gate flying. I mean, and as I stated, the Washington Capitals had a lot of their, starting guys. Ovechkin was there. Oshie was there. Kuznetsov was there. Backstrom, Tom Wilson. On the back end, they had John Carlson. They had a lot. Rasmus Sandin. A lot of their starters played this game. Well, for the Red Wings, your best forward was Daniel Sprong. Like, you didn't have Larkin, you didn't have Raymond, because typically in the preseason, when you're on the road, you play like the guys you're trying to, give minutes, try out guys, prospects, see what they got. You save your starting players, your roster guys, for home games. And despite that, I thought the Red Wings had a fantastic first. They were really swarming. Shots were officially 10-5 Detroit after the first period. And it's showcased. They had the first period, they had a 78% expected goals for percentage at 5-on-5 after 20. I love the way they started, but then after that, it kind of Capitals did what you would expect them to do with their best players on the ice.
For sure. Yeah, no, I'm going to say it after the wins. I'm going to say it after the losses too. Like, I don't really care about results as far as wins and losses go in the preseason. And no one should. But, for as much as, like the top line didn't play for the Wings in this game, I mean, there was still some like prominent players playing though.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's still quite a lot to take out of this. I think, did you have a place you wanted to start specifically?
I think the most obvious thing to talk about was I thought Daniel Sprong, especially in the first period, was absolutely stellar. He scored a goal, give the Red Wings a 1-0 lead early in the second period, and that was off a beautiful feed from Simon Edvinsson, but that was more or less just like the reward for the hard work that he had been putting in up until that point.
I thought he looked great all game. Whenever he was on the ice, I thought he looked good. He led the team in shots, which, again, preseason number, but we're going to take that. He had six shots. No one else on the team even had more than 4. The next highest was 4. And we'll get to some of those guys in a second. So I thought they looked good too. But yeah, I thought Sprong was like, we lost Kubalik. We lost like that depth kind of grip it and rip it type of player. And not that Sprong is going to be as like the puck will go on net no matter, or well, not on net, but the puck will get shot no matter what, I guess I'll say, like Kubalik was. But I think Sprong has the ability to really be like a very, very valuable depth scorer to this team.
I mean, he has a nasty wrister. I'm not going to deny that. And he was swarming all over the place. Defensively, I think, and this was a problem with the whole team. And again, you're playing your B team against the Capitals A team, so you can't really nitpick it too much. Defensively, I felt like the team as a whole, but Sprong too had left a little bit to be desired. But in the offensive zone, he was aggressive. He forced turnovers. He had a lot of shots, a lot of opportunities. Even the power play early in the game, they were cycling pretty well. Didn't get a lot of opportunities, but they were cycling the puck really well, trying to find space. I really liked what I saw out of Daniel Sprong all game. And I mean, they gave him 18 minutes and 58 seconds of ice time, which was second only, Scotty, to Joe Veleno, who had 19 minutes and 55 seconds of ice time, led the forwards. And, he had 3 shots. He had a plus-minus of 2. I thought Joe Veleno looked pretty solid out there. There's not, like you said, Scotty, there's not a lot you can really deep dive into with these games, but for Joe Veleno going up against, the best players of the Capitals to be a +2 and have 3 shots and have nearly 20 minutes ice time, that is, there's something to be said about that. It's, I don't want to go too far with my statement here, but it's at least you can definitively say that's a good sign.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like, I also said this after the first preseason game, like, we're going to take everything with a grain of salt, but preseason means a lot more to some people than others, right?
Mm-hmm.
The results for the preseason don't mean a dang thing to Dylan Larkin, right? We know what Dylan Larkin's going to be. No one's expecting him to go out there and put up, like a 30-point season, like out of nowhere, right? Like it's right. So we all know what he's going to provide. No one's worried about that. For someone like Veleno, preseason is everything. I think I could make a winning argument actually that this preseason, the person who it is the most important to is Joe Veleno. I think that is a very winnable argument. We're talking about somebody who some people have as like he's going to be the 4C on opening night, and other people have like losing his spot to Marco Casper, like, and like everything in between as well, like 13th skater, whatever. Like, and it's still preseason and it's still, et cetera. But I love giving him a ton of ice time because he is one of the few people, few might be a little bit of a stretch, but yeah, I guess few people on this team who like what they do in preseason is like actually super important to what kind of role they may have going into the start of the season.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned Marco Casper too, because there has been a lot of chatter, and we have mentioned it too that long term, do we see Joe Veleno being able to be a center on this team? We don't know because there's a lot of center depth, especially high picks at center that have been spent the last couple of years that might very well push him out. But Marco Casper in this game, honestly, as much as we always want to sing the praises of our top picks, he didn't really impress me all too much in this hockey game. He was a -2. I believe he had 1 shot on net in this hockey game. Let me double check on that, make sure I get that right. Just 1 shot on net. Corsi for percentage was 20%. Expected goals for percentage was 23% at 5-on-5. Relative was -27. And, again, I'm not worried because this is Marco Casper going up against Alex Ovechkin in a preseason hockey game. So it makes sense that maybe he's a little bit outclassed. But I was really excited to see him play, and I was a little bit let down with the performance that he had, but not like again, because it's that preseason game, I'm not worried. I was just like, oh, that's a bummer. I was hoping he would play a little bit better. But there's going to be several more preseason games ahead of him to figure that out, and likely a lot of time the AHL to mature.
Correct. Agreed.
Absolutely. So we're going to take a quick break here. And when we come back, I want to talk about Simon Edvinsson, Robby Fabbri, and then at some point talk about the goalie situation in this game, and then just Alex Lyon as in general. And maybe I think actually thinking about it, the Lyon thing might be better served as a conversation for a different episode. I might tease it today, but an in-depth conversation might be needed on a different day because Prashant Iyer brought up something really interesting on Twitter, and I wanted to address it. But first, I got to talk to you guys today about DoorDash. Burnt your last piece of toast, avocado's gone bad, or is that hot sauce bottle empty? Try grocery delivery from DoorDash. You'll get everything you want delivered when you need it right to your door. You've trusted DoorDash to deliver restaurant favorites, and now you can get grocery delivery that actually delivers too. With thousands of grocery stores to choose from, You'll find the best in your neighborhood and boost your local economy with each and every order. You'll get exactly what you ordered, or they'll make it right. So sit back and enjoy quality groceries like you picked them yourself. Want even more value? You can save on all your grocery and restaurant favorites with a $0 delivery fee on all eligible orders from the Dash Pass membership. I don't know why that always trips me up. Dash Pass membership.
Dude, I
Dash
did this
Pass.
on Tigers, man. I said Dash Pash.
That's what I say all the time. Because
So
I think it's
dumb.
the dash and then the membership. It's a lot of the sounds, but it's the Dash Pass membership. So get that and save extra money on your guys' orders. Get 50% off your first DoorDash order up to $20 value when you use code LOCKED at checkout. Limited time offer, terms apply. That's 50% off up to $20 and no minimum subtotal and 0 delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code LOCKED. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty and I are breaking down the second preseason game, a loss to the Washington Capitals. Robby Fabbri very nearly single-handedly brought the Red Wings back to a tie in this game. I think he scored 2 goals back-to-back late in the third, and they were like 30 seconds apart. The one was an absolute ripper of a shot, bar down, assisted by, Daniel Sprong and Ole Mata. It was a great pass by Daniel Sprong, too. And then the second one was an unassisted goal late in the third with about a minute and a half left in the game. When Derek Lalonde spoke to the media and said that this is the strongest he's ever seen Robby Fabbri, the best he's ever seen Robby Fabbri, obviously we all take it with a little bit of a grain of salt because of the injury history he's had. Like, can he stay healthy? It's always going to be a question floating over his head. These 2 goals, albeit being preseason, do help to maybe reassure fans that he's back and he is healthy. And a healthy Fabbri is an asset.
Dude, I only have one other player that I really wanted to make a point to talk about how good I thought they looked, but Fabbri was, it's easy with the results, but even if you take away the goals, right? Like, you just look at the passing that he was able to do, the 4 shots on net, like he was a force out there, man. And I want to believe so bad. You know what I mean? Like, I really want to believe that, like, if we can get, I don't know, like a 10% uptick from even normal, like what we're used to, Robby Fabbri production, that would go a incredibly long way over the course of an 82 game season. And I thought this was a great first step. Seeing him, there's an argument this is the most healthy he's ever been, like Lalonde said, right? So I thought he looked absolutely fantastic. Again, even taking the results that he ended up getting out of it, I thought he looked great. I thought he was skating strong. He wasn't skating scared either. Not that he ever did, even when he was, getting hurt all the time, whatever. But I thought he was great.
Well, it's funny. You mentioned how Raymond is taking the torch from Cabrera as best shape of his life, but I think that might actually belong to Robby Fabbri.
It might, yeah.
Unfortunately for Fabbri, this is more something out of his hands than it was with Miguel Cabrera. But a strong, healthy Robby Fabbri adds so much depth to this middle six. Like, you think about how dangerous a middle six with a Daniel Sprong, a Robby Fabbri, a Michael Rasmussen, and either a David Perron or a Lucas Raymond, with whoever you want being on that top line. Obviously, you replace with the other guy. Like, those are 4 wingers that are all capable. At least 3 of them are capable of getting you 20 plus goals. Michael Rasmussen still remains to be seen, but we think that Rasmussen has a 45-point ceiling if he can play a full 82 games. He was on pace for that before his injury last year. Like, that's some really good depth scoring. If you can hit 4 middle six wingers to score 20 plus goals, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Like, then that idea
in different ways too. It's not just all a bunch of, like wristers or a lot of snipers or whatever. Like, Rasmussen's wreaking havoc in front of the net using the body. Fabbri's a little more athletic. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the versatility of how those goals are being scored as well would be fantastic.
Well, and then you're really looking at a situation, and like we talked about it, that because of the way that this rebuild has panned out with no lottery luck and just coming in with 0 cabinet, that Steve Yzerman might be trying to build this a little bit more like a Seattle Kraken team or even a Vegas team last year, even though Vegas did have the star power They just had dealt with a lot of injuries where the production comes from all over the roster. That actually becomes a pretty decent chance of becoming reality if this middle six is healthy and produces the way we think they can produce. But I feel we are getting a little off topic and a little ahead of ourselves as we are in preseason
I'm
game
not
number 2.
proclaiming anything.
Yeah.
Again, it's a preseason game. All whole conversation is just simply Robby Fabbri looked really good. That is literally it.
Wait, Scotty, I have the blanket statement to protect us. We like the idea of a healthy Robby Fabbri.
There we go. The only other person I really wanted to bring up.
Wait, can I guess? Can I guess?
Yeah.
Simon Edvinsson.
No, but I agree. I don't disagree with that, but that's not the one guy I really wanted to point out that I thought played well. But yes, I thought Edvinsson looked really good. Obviously, he had the secondary or the primary on that. I don't remember. But
he had the primary and Sprong's goal.
Yeah. But yeah, he looked good. And the thing that I liked most about Edvinsson's game, honestly, like we've been seeing throughout camp and through the exhibition games, like the passing is clearly much better than it was last year. But I liked him gripping and ripping, man. A few shots on net. That was kind of what made me the most giddy.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, Simon Edvinsson was my favorite player to watch in this hockey game. I mean, he led the team in ice time, 23 minutes and 53 seconds against the best players of the Washington Capitals. Granted, probably going half speed because it's a preseason game. He was a +1 with 1 primary assist. It was a beautiful pass. It was a simple play, but he had a very narrow window to hit Daniel Sprong down low with that pass. He had 2 or 3 guys closing in on that gap he had. And so while the play, it was really his only play he could make, he had to nail that play in the window that he was given. And it was a very crisp, clean pass right to Daniel Sprong, who just outweighted his opponents and buried the puck. I love that. In the defensive zone, I thought he was really good. He got plenty of penalty kill time as well. He had 2 minutes and 20 seconds on the penalty kill, although I'm sorry, I read that wrong. That was 1 minute and 16 seconds on the penalty kill. I was reading Justin Hall's stat. So, I mean, overall, I really enjoyed what I saw out of Simon Edvinsson, and it's probably his most complete game in the Red Wings uniform in the preseason so far.
Agreed. The person I wanted to shout out was JT Compher.
That's fair. I liked a lot what I saw.
I thought JT Compher looked really good. Had a few shots on net. Was on the ice for I think 2 of the goals. But I think the thing that really I liked most of all was just I thought that he was, I mean, dare I say, like pretty comfortably the best defensive forward on the ice for the Wings. And like, again, like it's hard to know with game speed being limited and it being the preseason and knowing like who on which team is really going 100% and whatnot. But I thought that he was just like last year we talked so much about how this team's style, it would be so beneficial for them to get like a really aggressive, like not, overly aggressive to a fault, but like aggressive forecheckers as forwards. And I just felt like he kind of fit that bill pretty well in this hockey game. And then we talked about Marco Casper earlier. The only part of his game that I kind of liked was I think I can double check actually. I was going to say, I think he went 50-50 split on faceoffs. And like, that's obviously a big thing we talked about a lot last year. He went 5 for 11. So he lost 6 and won 5 in the faceoff circle. So that's something that I've been kind of wanting to keep an eye on too during the preseason, because that was something the Wings really struggled at last year, especially in like the thick of when they were losing. They were losing a lot of faceoffs, especially in the defensive zone. And so if they can get, Copper back and like you're going to have Larkin in that conversation, if you can get some guys who are going to go in there and can actually win you some faceoffs, I think that go a long way.
Yeah, I mean, Compher went 7 and 12 in the faceoff circle, 36% win percentage for him. So not great showing there, but I did like what I saw out of him overall in the first period. I mean, we signed him. You were praising him for his defensive game. I mean, that's what you signed him for. You signed him to be another two-way forward. A lot of the acquisitions and draft picks that Yzerman has made has been in an attempt to create an all-around good hockey team. Not a team that's a glass cannon, not a team that will play the trap against you and slow you down and bore you to death watching the television, but a team that's going to do it all. JT Compher, I thought, really played well in the first period. I think like a lot of the guys, his play kind of dipped periods 2 and 3, and the Capitals kind of took over until the Red Wings finished strong with those 2 goals by Robby Fabbri. We'll take another quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the goaltending very briefly. I think I want to save. I'm leaning towards saving the real Alex Lyon conversation for another day, another off day. But first, we are going to take a quick break, and we'll wrap up this conversation. So stay tuned to Locked On Red Wings. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty and I are wrapping up our conversation regarding the Red Wings 4-3 loss to the Washington Capitals in Game 2 of the preseason. Alex Lyon played the first 2 periods of this hockey game, and Sebastian Cossa played the final 20. Scotty, first blush, what were your reactions to their games in this one?
I mean, meh. I guess like that. What did they both give up 2? Yeah, like
they both gave up 2. And they both faced about the same amount of shots, 14 against Cossa and 15 against Lyon.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to look at either of those and be like blown away. I can't believe I'm really saying this, but I'm glad it wasn't even worse for Cossa. Like, is that like a backhanded compliment? I guess it kind of is, but like the last time we saw Sebastian Cossa, it was just like a flood. Right. It was just very overwhelming. Anything put on net was kind of going in. So nice to like not see that, I guess. But like, I don't really care too much about like Kossa's performance. I think this is more just about getting him experience against some NHL talent. As far as Lyon goes, I mean, like you said, you wanted to save like the big overarching like conversation on what to do with him, like, big picture. But yeah, I mean, I think it wasn't fantastic, but like you brought him in to be your like safety valve third option. So like I'm not sure I'm really expecting like fantastic.
Yeah, and so the question I had regarding Alex Lyon is like literally what do you do with him? Right now, you signed him to your NHL roster, and now we are in waiver wire season. That officially started today.
Yeah.
So you can't send him to Grand Rapids without putting him through waivers. And Prashant Iyer on Twitter posed the question, do you put him on waivers? Because, and I agree with him, he's not making it through waivers, especially with the news that Andrei Vasilevsky is going to be out 8 to 10 weeks. Tampa needs a goalie desperately. So are you okay with losing Lyon to the waiver wire? Because you definitely will. I mean, we said that about a couple different players last year, and it didn't end up coming to fruition. But Lyon's better than Hellberg and Nedeljkovic. So are you comfortable with losing him on waivers? Would you rather waive James Reimer? I actually think there's an argument to be made on that regard. Or do you carry 3 goalies? But like I said, Scotty, I think we should probably save that for a different day because that is going to be more than one segment, I think, on its own.
Yeah, and I also think it's, it's 2 games into the preseason.
Yeah, but you're carrying 3 goalies, and one of them, either you carry 3 goalies or one of them has to go through waivers.
I understand that. I'm just saying, like, that's not a decision that's going to be made tomorrow. Like,
no.
They'll carry 3 and keep making cuts around that until they absolutely have to stop carrying 3. So, like, we have time, and they're going to get more looks on the ice, too.
Regarding how they played in this game, meh. I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
I thought Cossa, he made a couple really nice saves. I thought that the power play goal that he allowed, Rasmus Sandin's shot from the point, I thought it looked like it was through a screen. So I'm going to give him a mulligan on that one. I thought the John Carlson one, it came off a scrum in front. I thought it was still a little weak. I thought he maybe could have gotten there. But I'm not going to nitpick every single puck that goes in on him. That's not fair to him as a young player. I thought it was definitely an improvement over what we saw in the red and white game, or not in the red and white game, the Red Wings prospects tournament. So we're going to continue to build off of that, although he was very visibly frustrated after the Jonathan Carlson goal in the third, which was the one that ended up being the game winner. But I thought they played okay. I thought they played passable, considering it being a preseason game. I wasn't blown away, but I wasn't like they're awful either. That's pretty much
again, it's individual performances, and I thought that the guys that we just highlighted as like having good individual performances were like the most important players in this game. So that's probably a good sign.
I mean, again, you look at the players who scored the goals for the Washington Capitals. So Rasmus Sandin,
right,
Tom Wilson, Nick Backstrom, and John Carlson, like everyday players for the Washington Capitals against the Detroit Red Wings B team. So I'm not gonna overly scrutinize these goaltenders.
Yep, agreed.
I mean, it's 25 minutes on the mark. Do you have any final thoughts on the game as a whole?
No, that's it.
Cool. Oh, by the way, I'm not going to bother throwing it up, but the hockey stat card on hockeystatcards.com has Simon Edvinsson as the best player for the Red Wings in today's game, given based on game score.
Good for him. Yeah, he looked great.
That's just one metric, but it supports my narrative, so we take that. We scoop that. Scotty, how do you feel about the Detroit Lions being 3-1, winning in Lambeau?
Kings of the North, baby. Oh man, this city just deserves just one winner so badly, and I'm hoping that that this year we can have a couple. Right? Hopefully the Wings take a step forward. I think the Pistons are probably still a year away, but like a full healthy season of Cade, knock on wood, should be fun. Should be a fun off season. Should be a fun off season for the Tigers. Almost 500 this year at the end. By when it's all said and done, like that'll be a good building block for them. But the who would have thought the team leading the charge out of like the depths when we went through like half a decade where all four of these teams were like last place teams pretty much consistently every year, would be the Detroit Lions. The Lions would be the team with the lantern in the front of the pack saying, "Follow me." Like, who would have thought? Who would have thought, man? We didn't like. I'm relatively sure. Don't quote me exactly on this, but I'm relatively sure. Like the first time in my lifetime they won in Lambeau, I was like in high school or like maybe even college. Like I was like relatively old. Like when they like won in Lambeau for the first time in my lifetime. Like. And they said on the broadcast, like we've only had 2 10-win seasons in the last like 20 years. Like, and there's still a lot of season left. I'm not anointing anything. We've been down this road before. We've had optimism before. I'm not gonna be the one to get punked here, but like going into Lambeau and dominating them, and then there's a sea of blue in the stands, and after the game there's "Let's Go Lions," like deafening "Let's Go Lions" chants in Lambeau Field. That's just, I love sports.
Yeah, like I said, it was a great day for me, but you especially, with the fact that the Red Wings played hockey. The Tigers won. They swept the series against the Royals, as they should, because the Royals are awful. But that in Miggy's final homestand, Torkelson hit his 30th bomb of the year. He's over 90 RBIs on the season going into the final series against the Cleveland Indians. They'll probably going to lock up, albeit the worst division in baseball, but lock up second place in the division as well. Huge step forward year from them after a lot of people were like putting their hands in the air, not knowing what's going on. And then the Lions, that game, that first half was astonishing.
Yeah, it got scary at one point, admittedly. Like never like real threat, but like I mean it got to, a 2-possession game, obviously. There at the end, it got a little your palms got a little sweaty, like, oh my goodness, we can't be doing this right now. But I don't know, man, when all the players on the team say like it's not the same. They keep saying it's not the same, and like I'm starting to believe them, and that's kind of exciting.
Yeah, it's just nuts. That third, okay, but to be fair, that one good drive that they had in the third quarter was precipitated by 2 really bad calls by the referees. And I'm not trying to both teams have to beat the refs. The ref made some bad calls on both sides.
If there's any team in America and Canada combined that deserves a little bit of ref luck, it is the Detroit Lions. I don't care.
They made 2 bad, like there was the face mask or the hands in the face. They called
to the face on Hutch, yeah.
On Hutch, and then was it Anzalone where they called it unsportsmanlike conduct or roughing?
Right, yeah.
When he just knocked the guy out of bounds.
Talking about the Packers guy jumping over the line.
No, that benefited us.
That was my point. It
was late as hell, but it was the right call to make, that one.
Yeah.
But the Anzalone knocking the guy out of bounds as he was running down the sideline, and then him getting a roughing penalty or whatever it was ridiculous. Kept their play alive.
We'll take the win, baby.
We'll take the win for sure. And then
check out Matt Derry.
Let's not forget the huge play they got with the clock running out. The clock ran out and they got a free
true.
play.
They got a play. The clock hit 0.
They got a touchdown because of that play. So despite all that, the Lions persevered through a bad third quarter.
Not the same.
I'm just pumped, man.
At least I hope so.
Thanks for listening to Locked On Lions. No, but seriously, go listen to Matt Derry.
Matt Derry rocks, yeah.
Previously featured on Hard Knocks last season. I don't know if you guys caught that.
He was, yeah. The Locked On rep there.
Mm-hmm. So give us your thoughts on the Red Wings, and hell, give us your thoughts on the Lions too. Why not? We ball, right, Scotty?
We ball, baby.
And we are so back.
We are so back.
Any final thoughts?
We ball.
We'll be back with a new episode on Monday. So stay tuned for that. We got, one game over the weekend?
Yeah, one Saturday
Against the Caps at home. So stay tuned for that. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.